Hello, welcome to the debut episode of one of my new segments here on this channel. This show is basically a spin-off of Heroes Who Are Cool and Awesome. This is Heroes Who Are Cool and Awesome Teams Edition, where in this series I talk about superhero teams, and this is episode 1. Well, 1. It also can count as an episode 0, because I'm kind of explaining exactly what this is. Now, in this episode, I'm talking about a team, which not a lot of people know about this team particularly very much, unless you read the comics, and that is the Secret Avengers, a spin-off team of the main team Avengers. Now, this team first made its debut in Secret Avengers #1, and it was created by Ed Brubaker, and who was that one? Let's see here. One second, I forgot to bring this up. Here we go. Ed Brubaker and Mike D'Italio. They're the ones who created this team. Now, there was a team previously before this one, and they were also called Secret Avengers, except they were specifically for the Civil War storyline. They were led by, like this team, they were led by Captain America, and the whole purpose of that team was simply fight against the Superhuman Registration Act. Though in the end, the team was suspended, and what was left of the team became a new incarnation, became a new lineup for the new Avengers, led by Luke Cage, and so much so forth. I might do about the new Avengers in another episode. But this episode is about the Secret Avengers. Now, there have been, besides that one and this one, there's one other one which is currently in the comics right now. Now, the original writer was in fact Ed Brubaker, but he only stayed on for the first 10 issues of the series before handing it over to Nick Spencer, who wrote the Point One and the 3 Forever Evil, Fear Itself tie-ins. Nick Spencer wrote also issues 11 and 12. I think he did. Then you have Warren Ellis writing issues 16 and 21. Not a very interesting run. I don't really care about that one. Then you had the final writer for the volume, for this volume of Secret Avengers, starting issue 21.1 all the way up to issue 37. Yeah, 37, and it's written by current Uncanny Avengers writer Rick Remender, who's also known for writing Uncanny X-Force, and he was the original writer for the previous Venom ongoing series. And of course, you have the previous volume, which just ended and was relaunched, and that was written by Nick Spencer. Yep, and now they got a new writer. I don't really know who's writing the current volume. He took over pretty much with the last couple. He wrote the last couple issues with Nick Spencer, who wrote the previous volume. Pretty much the whole purpose of the first volume. Let's look at this first volume a second. Excuse me. The team itself was meant to basically be, it was a Black Ops team formed by Captain America when he was known as when he was an intelligence agent. He worked basically behind the scenes, while the main team Avengers basically just did whatever they felt like doing. The Secret Avengers mainly, their job to do was to do stuff the Avengers would not do. Basically, to go on secret missions. Now, the initial lineup, besides, he was known as Commander Rogers, or Captain Rogers, so we put him. There was also the Black Widow, who is still a member of the team today. You also got Beast, Valkyrie, Moon Knight, Agent 13, a.k.a. Sharon Carter, War Machine, who is now known as Iron Patriot, Ant-Man, and Nova. And this is the original Nova in comics, not the current one. Richard Rider, who left after the first 4 issues because he wanted to participate in the Thanos narrative, which kind of did make sense. Now, when the series first started, it was really good. a lot of excitement, and the fact they were fighting a secret. They were fighting two different groups basically at the same time. One, they're fighting the Rexton Oil Corporation. Yes, the same group that owns the Brand Corporation, one who's responsible for creating people like Will-O-The-Wisp, Killer Strike, a lot of minor villains, and a lot of seedless heroes. Yeah, they're responsible for that. Oscorp in the comics, nothing really much to do with creating villains, basically. And the other group was known as the Shadow Council. Now, the Shadow Council was a secret group that had been around since the early 1900s. And one of its agents was a Golden Age superhero named John Steele. He, of course, was sort of like one of the primary antagonists of the series before he got killed off during Rick Remender's run. They also fought Shang-Chi's father, Fu Manchu, who was revived for one story arc, and he died at the end of it. Now, they did have a couple people join the group during Edward Baker's run. First of which was the Prince of Orphans. He was only around. He joined the team briefly, but he didn't do much for the team. The other was current Avengers Shang-Chi. He left the team after issue 18 because he felt as though he repaid a favor to Steve Rogers. That's pretty much exactly what was the whole point of him being there. And of course, that's what they did for the first 20 issues of the series, basically fighting the Shadow Council on and off. And then in the point one issue, apparently someone decided to have this group revealed to the public, but they still kept their identities. They still kept the group completely secret. Now, pretty much when it came to this group, the lineup change was not as basically as frequent as the main team Avengers. It was very rare they had a new member to the team. Excuse me. Pretty much after actually it was issue 5. Yeah, issue 5. Right after Nova left, there was no changes to the lineup at all. Nobody left the team. Nobody joined the team afterwards. Pretty much the lineup remained the same. Now, during the Fear Itself tie-in, and they have very little to do with the Fear Itself. Basically, they have one issue where they actually took place during Fear Itself. The other two is simply just spotlighted issues, one on the Valkyrie and one on the Black Widow. Now, if you notice on the covers of the comics for these particular series, Black Widow showing a lot more skin than usual. On the cover of the first issue, however, she's showing her cleavage. However, in some later covers, she shows a little more skin. I don't know why they did this for, but they probably did it just so they could have people buy the comic. To me, I don't really care about it. I just read the comic anyways. I mean, it's okay. It's basically fan service, but they didn't do it all the time. They did it for several of the covers for the series, not really much. But when they did the second volume of the series, they decided to have her drawn like Scarlett Johansson. Now, basically, back to the team. They fought the Shadow Council on and off. Depends on basically what they did. Then, starting issue 21.1, they decided to have something very unusual. They had Hawkeye join the team, but the team itself did not make an appearance during this issue. But it was just simply Captain America. This was after Fear Itself. It was just Captain America and Hawkeye. And they had infiltrated a meeting of the Reformed Masters of Evil, led by Max Fury. And this was going to be a very large lineup. And the group was comprised of, at the time, if I can pull it up here, when they first met them, it was consisted of Princess Python, Vengeance, and the current Whiplash, who was based upon the one from the Iron Man 2 movie. That's basically who was part of the group. Yes. And someone asking, why am I talking Masters of Evil for? Because they're part of this. Then later on, they had a whole bunch of people join this incarnation after the initial story. They fought them a couple of times during Rick Remender's run. Yeah, they fought them just one point one issue, and then they fought them for the second to last story of this volume. And here we joined. They had Beast, Black Talon, the Brothers Grimm, Karen, Constrictor, Crossfire, Diablo, the Second Eel, Excavator, Firebrand, Griffith, Killer Strike, Lady Stiltman, Levicious, the Madame Mystique, Madcap, Morg, Mudbug, Pink Pearl, Porcupine the Second, of course, no, Princess by Heaven, Ring of the Second, Satanish, Squid, Thinker, over his vengeance and Whiplash, the Wrecking Crew, and the Young Masters, which is basically comprised of Black Knight the Fifth, Coat of Arms, Aka the Second, Execution the Second, Menko, and the Melter. I took a hit count on how many people were part of this incarnation. There's over 30 people part of this incarnation, and yet they were taking on the Secret Avengers. Now, after issue 21, they did not really explain this very much. They just had recommend when he joined. They had these several characters simply just dropped on the top for no explained reason. They dropped War Machine, Moon Knight, and Sharon Carter. They had them abruptly leave the team in issue 21. Well, they just simply last appeared in issue 21, but they never really technically left the team. They was never really shown that they actually left the team. Yeah, and this is something kind of bothered me. Though Moon Knight did briefly join the Secret Avenger. Rejoined Secret Avengers during the Avengers vs. X-Men conflict for a couple issues during X-Men Legacy. But otherwise, though, oh yes, they did have also Rhodey briefly rejoin the team after he left. Sharon Carter never returned to the team at all. Rhodey was only part of the team for the Avengers vs. X-Men issues. That's pretty much it. Now, during the Masters of Evil story, which is a really good story, well, that's came after us. First, they fought the Descendants, which is led by a villain from Kenny X-Force named Father, these group of robots. And they fought for a few issues. Then they had people join a group to join the Spirit Time. In issue 22, they had Captain Britain, Giant Man, who was a.k.a. Hank Pym, and the android Human Torch. Not Johnny Storm. This is Jim Hammond. This is the Golden Age Human Torch, not Johnny Storm. I don't know why people like to get those two confused. And also, who owns the movie rights to this character? I mean, yes, he's called the Human Torch, but is he owned by Marvel or is he owned by Fox? If someone can find out, please tell me below in the comments when I finish this video. Then they had, in the following issue, they had Venom join the group in issue 23. Which was also the same issue that had to kill off Eric O'Grady, the third Ant-Man. And then they had the following issue, apparently he came back, but several issues later he was revealed to be an LMD, and he was working for the supervillain Father. Now, after the initial debut story arc of this team, then they decided to have been tied up with the Avengers vs. X-Men stuff, having the team basically comprised of, I think it was like Beast, Giant Man, Captain Britain, Thor, Miss Marvel, the Protector, Vision, and Valkyrie, and of course Beast. Now they had some members of the team basically part of this particular lineup. Now this lineup was not led by Hawkeye. Hawkeye was absent for these 3 issues. The team itself was initially led by Thor. Their job was simple: stop the Phoenix Force in outer space. But in itself, they ended up basically having the thing break apart. Now, one interesting side note, when Captain Britain first joined the team, he thought, he had the strange feeling that he was going to lead the team because he's the captain. He had the initial thought that he was going to lead the team, but later he found out that Hawkeye is going to lead the team. Now, Hawkeye leading the team makes sense, because Hawkeye is a long-time Avenger. Captain Britain has no experience being an Avenger. He had recently been asked to join the Avengers during the Heroic Age. So at this point, when he finally does join the Avengers team, this is less than, I don't know, a year after he was asked to join the team, after he got mixed feelings with MI-13. Now, to have Captain Britain join the team makes sense. They've had superheroes from other countries before. They've had the Swordsman, who's from France. They've had the Mantis, who's half Vietnamese. And they've also had the third Black Knight be part of the group, which is true. So Captain Britain makes sense, but having him join the Secret Avengers makes no sense. If they wanted to do some good publicity, I would have put him on the main Avengers team, not put him on the Secret Avengers. Venom joined the team because of a recommendation from the Red Hulk. Because what happened during the Secret of Fire story, which involved Venom, the current Ghost Rider, who was a woman, named Andra Blaze. They never really explained the relation. Was Venom, Andra Blaze, the Red Hulk, and X-23. Yes, basically he recommended, after that particular event, because he did save a lot of people during Circle of 4 storyline, that he put a recommendation with Captain America when he showed up. This is, of course, when he's Commander Steve Rogers. He shows up and he recommends him to join the Avengers. Which Cap puts it through, says, okay, fine. But he puts him in the team. Him beyond the Secret Avengers makes sense because he's more he's done espionage stuff before in his own series. Okay, now comes one of my favorite story arcs of the series: the Secret Avengers versus the Massive. Though they don't technically defeat the Masters of Evil in this story, they do come back later on. They go to the country of Bialgia, I think the name of the country is. And this country is controlled by supervillains, and apparently the UN has no problem with this, and yet AIM, a terrorist organization, has got their own freaking country. Yeah, this was in Fantastic Four 610, and they go walking around, do whatever they want. They can commit act of terrorism, and they can't get arrested. How stupid is the UN in Marvel? Marvel Comics is writing the UN as completely stupid, having a terrorist organization become an actual country. And yet this other country, basically, it's a safe haven for suit villains. Yeah, it's a safe haven, and the Secret Avengers invade the country. Yeah, and it turns out the reason why it is they had very good reason doing this because they were going to stop Max Fury because he got his hands on 3 different pieces. He got his hands, let's see, the guy in here. He had gotten his hands on, let's see here. On these 3 pieces, like a serpent crown, a couple cousins of it, and it formed this, a Vesicron, the Max Fury, who's a Nick Fury LMD. He's not a clone. He's a robot. He's known as Max Fury. He made his debut in pages of Defenders. So you can think, basically, for whoever created him, Defenders, basically, for him. He pretty much just went kind of cuckoo for Coke Pups. Master basically turned against them. And afterwards, they never showed up again, except for maybe appearance in Deadpool. And now they're stars in the Avengers from the Cover series, where they're not beloved like Max Fury. For the first time in some time, they actually have a leader. And I thought it might be something like Princess Python, something like that, but it turns out it's the leader of one of the previous incarnations of this other group, and that's Baron Zemo. We have Madame Mystique as his right-hand woman, and you have Constrictor as his bodyguard. Okay, makes sense. Now, pretty much after they successfully defeat the Masters of Evil, which somehow during the course of the event, Venom and Ant-Man got immune from the possession of the Abyss. Venom makes sense because he's a symbiote, but Ant-Man, it turns out he was an LMD afterwards, and after the storyline was over with, let's see, you have Black Widow abruptly leave the team in issue 32 in the final issue of the storyline, and you have Eric O'Grady revealed to be an agent of Father, and change his name to Black Ant and becoming a supervillain. And then you come to the final story arc of this volume, which is basically the Secret Avengers versus the Descendants. Of course, a couple issues into the story, they have Black Widow rejoin the team. Now, this is by far one of the most serious story arcs I've ever seen. They had the freaking Sentinels show up in this. Heck, I think it's issue 35, I believe. It was the last issue where they had the Lighthouse, which is one of their base operations. They had 2 of these. First was the Quinn Carrier, which is owned by Captain America. That was the original base of operations. Then Hank Pym and Doc McCoy, a.k.a. Beast, designed this new base of operation, which is a frickin' space station called the Lighthouse, and base operations there. And that was a freaking base operations for most of the entire Rick Remender run until it disappeared after issue 35. Now, I might go into detail about the Quinn Carrier and the space station Lighthouse in another series, which is called I'm gonna call it Vigo/Locations, so I can detail stuff like this. Yeah. Then this group disbanded after the defeat of Descendants. Of course, this group went their separate ways. Human Torch basically decided to isolate himself from humanity because he caused death to the Descendants. And also caused death to Father. And also the fake Ant-Man died. Yep. Of course, he later appeared in the pages of All New Invaders. Hawkeye, of course, Hawkeye and Black Widow stayed with the Secret Avengers series to the next time. Which, after the events of Avengers vs. X-Men, which was, of course, when the Secret Avengers disbanded, there was a new lineup formed. Maria Hill, I think it was Maria Hill, Daisy Johnson, and Nick Fury Jr. decided to form an Avengers unit within the S.H.I.E.L.D., which is led by them. And the initial members are, when the group started, they recruited Hawkeye, Black Widow. Of course, Nick Fury was one who leaves the group. Phil Coulson, and that was it. That was the initial lineup when the team was first formed in issue 1. Yeah, and then in issue 2 you had Mockingbird and the Taskmaster. Yes, the villain Taskmaster joining in issue 2. And then in issue 4, you had the Hulk join the team, though he didn't do very much. He appeared now and off again. He made his last appearance in issue 13. He was sort of like a supporting character. He was like a reserve member of the team. Then you had Iron Patriot, aka Rhodey, join the team in issue 6, and you had one last person join the team during this point in time, during this lineup, and that was Secret Agent Garza, who joined only for the Infinity tie-in issues. Now, pretty much you had the first issue basically having the Secret Avengers. Of course, you had Winter Soldier as an honorary member. You had to basically kill a terrorist from Al-Qaeda, and afterwards they had memories erased. Bucky had a problem with this, so he didn't know what to do with the team again. Then, starting issue 2 up until the final issue, had this regular, well, exception of the two Infinity issues, they had this regular storyline where, for about almost 14 issues straight, it's basically a Secret Avengers versus AIM. And basically, in the second issue, they revealed basically who was on this High Council. Let's see. 1 second here. You had the High Council, which was Andrew Forrest, who is the Scientist Supreme of Graviton, who is the Minister of Science, Jude the Epiroc Man, who is the Minister of Health. You have the second Black Widow, Yelena Belova. You have her become the Minister of Defense. I'm not kidding. Yeah, that's what happened. Let's see. Let's see if I can bring this up. Just a second here. I'm looking up basically who was on that particular lineup for this particular team. If I can get it up here. Sorry, it's taking a little while. I'm trying to get basically the details, basically what's going on here. There we go. Here it is. Here we go. Graviton, Minister of Health. Minister of Science. Judy Epiroc Man, Minister of Health. Mento is Minister of Public Affairs. Superior is the Minister of Education. Taskmaster, Minister of Defense. And Yelena Belova is the Minister of State. Excuse me, yes. And of course, you have Andrew Fallon being the leader of it, and apparently he sits on the UN for some stupid reason, and apparently when the Secret Avengers were sent to kill him, they killed him, and then somehow he magically came back for no explained reason, and all of a sudden Maria Hill storms into Daisy Johnson's office, who was director of S.H.I.E.L.D. this time, and says she's been suspended, and Maria Hill is now a new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. But then, a few issues later, Daisy gets part of memory wiped. It's kind of the similar process that Tony Stark went through during the Stark Disassemble story, though not as serious. And of course, she was never seen again. Of course, she later contacted the original Nick Fury and worked with him in Winter Soldier for a brief period of time. And that's pretty much it when it comes to her. Maria Hill pretty much still leads the team right now. Then they had this final story called "How to Maim a Mockingbird." Basically, it's a play on the name of the story, "How to Kill a Mockingbird." Pretty much the whole point of the story is that Mockingbird's identity in AIM has been compromised, so they had to evacuate her. Taskmaster is working with her. Apparently, during the course of the story, she apparently kills him, but it's later revealed at the end of the story that he survives. Okay. No explanation there. Then pretty much at the end of the volume, Hawkeye, Mockingbird, and Iron Patriot resign from the team. And then leaving with sorry for the half-hour video, but okay. Thus leaving the group with Maria Hill, Phil Coulson, Nick Fury Jr., Black Widow, and Spider-Woman, who joins the first issue of the new volume. Hawkeye is there as basically support, but he doesn't really fit the team. And from what I've heard, he's only there just to impress the women. Yeah, that's according to Black Widow and Spider-Woman. He said that they say, and they ask him. He asks, "Why am I here?" And they say, "To impress us." There's a kind of a reason for that, because Hawkeye is sleeping not with Black Widow, but with Spider-Woman. Okay, Brandis, you push this relationship, and now this relationship is still ongoing. Iron Patriot, after he leaves Secret Avengers, he gets his own ongoing series, and of course, at the start of the Captain Marvel series, he's in a relationship with Carol Danvers. Give or take. I have not read the Iron Patriot series yet. I would like to. I've read the previous War Machine series. I've read War Machine Volume 2, and I've read Iron Man 2.0, but I've not finished reading the first volume of War Machine. I've not read this volume yet. I've not even read the current Captain Marvel volume yet. But pretty much, Hawkeye, of course, still got his own ongoing series, so he's not really much affected by leaving this team, give or take. Would I see some of these characters in an ongoing series? Nick Fury Jr., that's a possibility because of his popularity with the Marvel films. I'm sure a lot of people probably buy the series. What I would do is revive Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. series and basically have Nick Fury Jr. as a star. You can have the original Nick Fury show up as a supporting character and have Wolverine or whoever else is in the series. And of course, Hulk leaving the team basically does not really affect the team very much, give or take. And of course, team still exists today. Still the same team, did not disband at the end of the volume like they did in the previous volume. Excuse me. And that's it. This is actually my longest video I've actually really talked about. Okay? Now, I will talk about more teams in the near future. I know this is one day after my previous video talking about Secret Origins 44, but I will be doing more videos. Okay? That's it. See you all in my next video, where I might be talking about vehicles. I might have my next video will start my new show about vehicle/locations for Heroes Who Are Cool and Awesome. Talk about the objects, or maybe something else. Depends what I think of. Okay? See you on my next video. Till then, bye.